All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered, Real Convos, No Filter, where we honor God, our authentic selves, and the beautiful contrast of life. Listen, on today's episode, I have a special, beautiful human being who happens to be my sister. I love her. She is one of my best friends. Her name is Danielle White. She is a speaker and a licensed professional counselor getting ready to walk with her doctorate degree. Listen, today's episode is encouragement around and awareness around mental health. Here at Unfiltered, I bring things that are so dear to my heart that I feel like can impact you. And there is no greater person that I know that can tap into this conversation greater than her. I can't wait for you to meet Danielle. I'm going to share some of my faves for the season as well. You guys know that I love to bring you into my personal world and share some of my favorite things with you, as well as an artist to me spotlight today. So as we get started, you know that I always start with a scripture. So my scripture for this week is going to come from Psalm 41-3. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and he heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. Listen, this scripture is so dear to me, especially for this season. It's all about giving thanks to the Lord for him always having our back. No matter what situation you find yourself in, God can pull you out of it, reset you in a safe place, and progress you forward. There's never a time that we shouldn't be grateful, even in the midst of storm, even in the midst of chaos. Gratitude is the attitude to have because God can and he will use any situation or scenario that you're in to bless you. You just have to allow him to do so. So don't forget to research, ponder this scripture this week. I really mean it. It is so one of the ones that gets me through when I find myself falling back, when I find myself being overcome by life and overcome by the circumstances of life. This scripture resets me and refuels me and progresses me forward. So that's Psalm 41-3. I want us to get started with some of my faves, and I want you to understand that as I bring you more into my world, I'm telling you what gets me through. I want you to know that I am, I've been very open, very transparent about my journey with thyroid health and losing my thyroid, most of it in 2014. I have a portion of my right still left, but literally, I'm always dry. My skin is flaky and scaly. My hair is dry, it's thin, it's brittle. And it doesn't matter how much lotion I put on, I somehow find myself back a little ashy. I've had to embrace that. But I've done a lot of research, and I want to tell you that there is a specific brand that I love so much. It's called Raw Sugar. This brand I researched, I love it so much. Its body wash and also its lotion has transformed my life. I am telling you, it's paraben free, it's gluten free. It doesn't have all of those extra added ingredients that dry you out. It has been one of my saving graces as a person who is living with a thyroid condition and always having to navigate through the seasons. I want you to know that raw sugar is amazing. I'm going to just tell you like that. Raw sugar is amazing. I love it so much. It has done wonders for my skin. It's done wonders for my body. So I would love for you to go out and try some raw sugar products. You can find them at your local Walgreens and Target, but raw sugar is amazing. My favorite song right now is When I Pray by Doe Jones. You may be familiar with her from the family group Forever Jones. They had this amazing hit single, He Wants It All. I love it so much. So Doe is now a solo artist, and her song When I Pray, when I tell you, it's It's not your average gospel song. It has a bop and a vibe to it. It is something you can put on in the morning, in the evening, and it just literally just speaks to my soul. The lyrics speak to my heart. She goes in. I want you to listen to that song, as well as my sister Erica Campbell, who is one half of Mary Mary, also a solo artist. She has a song called Positive, and right now we need that. We need positivity. We need to be encouraged. The world is going crazy. We've had this crazy midterm election where we see that our nation is completely split down the middle. We've got the Republicans on one end, the Democrats on the other. I want you to be on the side of positivity, knowing that God has everything under control. I don't care who's in office. I don't care who was elected. God knew it. He knew what we would be experiencing in 2022 at this time. I want you to know that being positive, really listening to that song, letting it penetrate your heart and your soul will reset your mind if all of this stuff just gets you cloudy. So I wanted to share that with you. Go download When I Pray by Doe Jones. Go download Positive by Erica Campbell. Those are my favorite things. Those two songs have gotten me through just recently, and they are not going to be off repeat anytime soon. So go listen with me. I love it so much. All right, you guys, it's time for my Artist Me Spotlight. And this person, this individual, I have watched through her career. She embodies exactly my heart for Artist Me. I love who she is. I love what she does. And I just want to take a moment to celebrate Lupita Nyong'o. I pray that I'm saying her last name correctly. She is the daughter of Kenyan politician Peter Nyong'o. She was born in Mexico City, where her father was teaching, and she was raised in Kenya from the age of 3. She attended college here in the U.S., earning a bachelor's degree in film and theater studies at Hampshire College. Then she pursued a master's degree in acting from the Yale School of Drama. Soon after her graduation, she had her first feature film role as Patsy in Steve McQueen's biopic 12 Years a Slave. That was 2013, for which she received critical acclaim and won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Oh my gosh, that her performance in 12 Years a Slave married me to her art from then on. Her career progressed with her role as Nakia in Marvel's Black Panther 2018, and its sequel that just was recently released. Her starring role in Jordan Peele's horror film Us in 2019 was also one that she is known for. She's very vocal about preventing sexual harassment and working for women's and animal rights. In 2020, Nwangwu was named one of Africa's 50 most powerful women by Forbes. I want to celebrate her as my Artist Me Spotlight today because she embodies everything that Artist Me is about. Knowing who you are, blazing your lane, blazing it well, and stepping into the artistry that God created you to be. I love her so much. We celebrate you, Lupita. All right, everybody. Today, as I mentioned, I have someone near and dear to me as my guest. She is one of my best friends, also my sister. Her name is Danielle White. She is a speaker and licensed professional counselor. She owns and operates Never Walk Alone Counseling Center based in Houston, Texas. One time for Houston, yes. She received her Master of Education from Lamar University and is in active pursuit of her doctoral degree from Sam Houston State University. Danielle helps individuals navigate through oppressive systems and eliminate anxiety and depression. Danielle has an extensive amount of experience working with vulnerable populations, including work in the local county jail, Lord Jesus, medical and psychiatric hospitals, homeless shelters, and hospice care settings. I can't wait to let you meet and hear from my friend and sister, Danielle White. Danielle, you there?
Yes. Hi, Sister Aventer.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so delighted to have you. I can't wait for people who have not had the pleasure to know you yet to get to know you and to see how incredible you are. Mental health, means a lot to me. Mental health, it just in the recent years, I think in the last maybe 4 years, have come to the forefront, and now we are giving language to things that we didn't know before instead of just calling people crazy, which we are, a lot of us are. But giving the specific language to scenarios. I've seen you work with a lot of people, whether they're just people walking on the street, people inside of the church, people in jail. There is no walk of life that you haven't been able to touch. So I just want to talk to you from the perspective, yes, you're my friend and my sister, but from a professional sense, I want people to know who you are. So tell us what led you to specialize in anxiety and trauma for people impacted by oppressive systems, and what does that mean to you?
Most definitely. It actually started when I was in high school. When most people were skipping school to go to the mall or different places, I actually skipped school to go to the local county courthouse. And there was a case with Andrea Yates where she drowned five of her children. And
Mm-hmm.
at first, I was like, maybe I'll be a lawyer. But then I noticed how drugged up she was. She wasn't paying attention. And also, it made in my mind, like, why, how could she actually do this? Harm all five of her children by drowning them.
Wow.
And so it really tapped me into what exactly was going on with her mentally to make her be in a place where she can pick up every one of her children and place them into a bathtub. So that kind of opened the door for me to really want to dive more into mental health and pretty much bring awareness to it so I can at least help one person to eliminate having that stress, those anxieties, and those traumas that she may have experienced that caused her to go to that direction.
So you had an encounter in a moment that kind of shifted you into wanting to dig deeper and know, why. I think that's key because a lot of times we love to just throw people away and we love to say, man, what made them do that? We're seeing it right now in real time with our brother Kanye. There are some things that he walked through. I'm sure that grief played a part with his mother passing away and all of that. And it's like everybody's like, oh, he's acting out, he's doing X, Y, and Z. But no, there is a deeper level here. There's a super underlying issue that is backing and fueling his actions. And so that would be a whole different show. But I feel like that there are trauma bonds that are created, and there are different scenarios and triggers that bring us to a place that we wouldn't know why we acted the way we acted, how we got there. And I think that I have definitely my producer Precious. There are so many other beautiful women like you all who are taking the necessary time to sit with us, to sit with people, to dig deep, to grow, and to give us the knowledge that we need to be able to attack these scenarios in our lives. So, to you, in your words, what is trauma and what is the difference between having anxiety and then having trauma?
So trauma is a experience. It could be something as simple as a loved one passing away that
Right.
was near and dear to your heart. It could be a car accident that caused for your body to shift mentally. It could be for a divorce. It could be domestic violence. Trauma is actually defined by the individual because different people experience trauma in different levels. And anxiety is a response to your body of how it handles trauma or how it handles different symptoms or different actions within your body. And so anxiety can be that you're having racing thoughts, you have sweaty palms, you can't sit still. You always have
Wow.
to be on a go because you don't want to sit in whatever it is that you need to focus on at that present moment. And so those are the difference when it comes to trauma and anxiety. And I want to tap into exactly what you said. Think about as children, as in our culture, if if a traumatic experience occurred at 5 years old and you have someone who's crying, most likely it's like, get up, girl, get up, guy, and keep on moving. So we
True.
never handled that traumatic experience. We just
Yeah.
said, pray about it, move on, and let's go on. But what happens when you become 25 and
Right.
something triggers what happened at 5? And so that's where your anxiety start comes in, or maybe that's why you responded the way that you did, or you removed yourself from certain people because you're trying to now create boundaries so you don't feel that hurt again because that's what you were programmed to do at 5. Move on, put up a shield, put on that mask like everything is okay because that's what you learned at 5. So I think having these tough conversations, open up dialogue as you're doing right now, allows for people to feel like it's okay if I experience that. And how am I going to continue to move forward so I don't have to continue to feel this way about this current event or any other situation that may come up in my life?
It's so true because, and I love that you took us back to childhood. I think a lot of times as parents, some of us are doing the best that we can, but we need to pay attention because when children are crying, we have been conditioned to, wipe your face, child. It's not that deep. And, we move past it. But the truth is, it is deep to them. So
Mhm.
allow them to have their moment. Allow them to express it the way they need to express it. And then you go in with love and you
Right.
say, you may give them a safe place to express because I have found myself and I had to check myself telling my son, telling my daughter, all right, that's enough. You're doing the most right now. But I had to remember at one point I was a child and I also felt like I wasn't heard because I was told to just wipe my tears. And sometimes in those children become adults. So we start acting out ourselves. We're like, okay, I'm over it. I'm good. We haven't allowed ourselves to feel. We haven't allowed ourselves to process, and we just keep on moving along with life. And then one thing happens, and the person you knew or you've been introduced to, you find yourself coming to terms with I'm not exactly who I thought I was because the way I acted and I responded to that after you come back to yourself, you're kind of like, how did I get here? How did that
Mhm.
happen? And our anxiety and our trauma bonds and every single situation leads into the next situation if we don't attack it when it happens. So you're right. The 5-year-old is going to grow up, but that 5-year-old grew up and the trauma actually grew with them. And so we don't take the necessary time to break open the box and allow all of the contents, all of the dust, all of the foolishness that's within to come out and we confront it head on. And then as an adult, we get all these terms. You got borderline personality disorder, you got narcissistic behaviors, you've got, diagnosed with depression and anxiety and all of these things that people want to tag you with, and we give you some medicine and expect you to go ahead and move along. But that affects your brain activity. When you do not confront head on the issues in your childhood, and our generations prior to us have mastered the art of, we don't talk about that. We don't bring that up, honey. So and so was sleeping with who was no, we don't do that. Oh, and your cousin, she's not really your cousin, but that's your aunt. And all, like, we don't deal with that kind of stuff. But this is the time. This is the generation that is trying to bring healing to us so that we can have a better quality of life for attacking head on all of these different scenarios and these issues. So we typically seek healing in others through our request for apologies and wanting them to see our side and answers and closure conversation. Does this really help resolve trauma in your estimation and in your expertise? Do you think when we seek for the person who has hurt us or caused the trauma, asking them to apologize, asking them, for answers and trying to seek the whys they did, the why as in WHY, the whys as to why they did this to us or it affected us, do you think that that actually resolves the problem at all?
Absolutely not. Sometimes you might need it just to fill a spot within your heart to say that okay, I did that checkbox. But what about if you never receive it? So you're now going to hold on to this feeling and this anxiety and this hurt for the rest of your life because you never hear something from someone. It's
Wow.
it's really about your own personal. If someone doesn't say I'm sorry, if someone doesn't acknowledge what they're doing, is that going to change who you are as an individual? Probably how they responded to you is their issue, is not yours. And
Wow.
don't take on ownership of it. And so that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of us seek out like, what's this person needs to call me and tell me what. Do they really need to? Or is this just going to be wasted space,
Right.
or wasted time? or maybe they don't even have the mental capacity right now because they responded because of how they handle certain things as a child or how they've been taught to handle certain things. So no, is not going to change anything by hearing hearing an apology or hearing acknowledgement from someone. It's just going to probably put a checkbox, but really you have to dig deep into yourself and be like, okay, give that person grace. I really didn't like what they did to me. I understand I need to probably put a boundary up for that
Mm-hmm.
individual. But do I need to hear them tell me that they're sorry? And if what about if they really don't mean it? And so
Yeah.
then again, that's just another checkbox.
You're
So
so
I
you're
think that's
so right
to yourself.
because there's mechanical responses. I can do
Mm-hmm.
every single thing you ask me to do, but is my heart in it? And did I really
Correct.
mean what I said? We talked about this. I talked about this with my husband. Like, I was like, the work has to be done because you can do every single thing that I feel like I need. And just because if I say, Danielle, I'm sorry, that hurt your feelings or whatever, did it really impact you? Like, there has to be, you have to make the decision for when people do something to you or you feel like you were wronged. You have to make the decision to forgive them for yourself, whether you get the apology you want or not. Because even when you get it, how has that actually changed you? We will get so bogged down with, well, listen, if they can't, if they can't approach me and they can't come to me and they can't do X, Y, and Z, then I'm not gonna. Well, for you, you're allowing that to take up mental space in your life, and you're not even focusing on the things that you really need to be focused on because you've allowed this person or these individuals or this situation to navigate your responses. We got to take our power back, and we got to actually navigate the space where we get the opportunity to say, listen, if I never hear I'm sorry, if I never get the hug that I needed from my daddy, if I never have my aunt to apologize for leaving me in the dark and in the corner because she wanted to go off and sneak and have sex with her boyfriend and she didn't want me to know what was going on. You get what I'm saying? Like, all of those things, if I never get that, what am I going to do for me to be able to progress forward? I thought about this the other day. I realized I was holding a grudge from somebody who I was in high school with. Now, mind you, this person's gone on. They're living their life. I'm living mine. We're doing all of these things, and then I thought about like our like our reunion coming up, and who I didn't want to see, and who I could care not to see for the rest of my life, and the people that I really wanted to see, and why I want to see them, and all of that. But I'm like, why am I allowing this individual to have me feeling a way about something that happened when we were 15 years old? We're 40. Like, what? Who does that? We do it, and we do it inadvertently, because when you hear a name, you're like, oh, here they go. Or you hear, or somebody says, you think about your last pep rally or your last high school football game or whatever. You're like, yeah, child, I didn't do that because X, Y, and Z. And you are literally revisiting a place that was meant to grow you, and you
Mm-hmm.
to actually be above that now. It shouldn't even be taking up residence in your heart and your soul, but we don't know how to let go of things, and we don't know how incredibly impacting it is when we allow that stuff to fester in our hearts and our minds, and we have personal anxiety and personal stressors and personal things that we are experiencing, not knowing that it's because we never addressed what needed to be addressed in our lives, and we decided that we were just going to go ahead and move forward. I got a husband, babies, all kind of stuff, and all of my attention needs to be on what I'm doing in 2022, but I'm back in 1998 mad at you. That's a problem. How do you give
But who has the
language to
power?
that?
Who has the
We do.
power in
We
that
have to
setting?
teach each other that, right?
Exactly.
How do you get people to get past that, to let that
So
stuff
the
go?
biggest, and most definitely, the biggest thing I have to tap into when I talk to my clients, or even to myself, well, Danielle, who's in control of this? Why are you worried about, oh, girl, because I have a certain situation, girl that punched me in the face, and I still think about it today. But it's like, why am I even, putting space in my brain for this individual? Did this person have that much power over me to have space in my mind for me to think about? Why am I even thinking about this person? I have to take my power back and be like, you know what? That situation happened. I forgive her, and let's move on. But it really taps into why. why do you need to continue to listen or hear this person's name and you trigger? You first like, oh no, I don't want to see this person. Or if you see an ex and you run into them, and you're like, oh no, they did me wrong, and it happened 10 years ago. But it really, when you think about it, they still have a little bit of power over you. You have to take your power back. I don't care if you have to pray it away and pray like, Lord, remove this person from my mind before I become a part of that movie that you know that I love.
I can see you now. Y'all, let me tell you, one of our favorite movies is Tyler Perry's. Is it Ambish? Wait, what is it? I don't.
It
I
was
can,
with Taraji P.
it
Henson.
was with Taraji, and the movie was. I think it was
Alimony. Was it
Alimony.
alimony?
No, that's not it. I'm tripping. It's one of our favorite movies, and I can't remember the name of it. Somebody help me. It's
Acrimony.
Acrimony, honey. Okay, so Taraji has put her heart and soul into this relationship. She's believing in her husband. Nothing pops off for him, but he's believing in this invention that God gives. But she allows her sister and them, okay, to talk her out of her relationship. And at some point, the situation pops and he gets recognized and paid for this beautiful invention that he's been given. Now, your sister and your family and them done talked you out of your marriage, right? So he's gone on and found another human to marry. And in her mind, she's like, wait a minute. I was there for all of this. He gives her money. It wasn't enough. She wants all of the stuff that he promised her and all of that, but she didn't have the patience to wait for it. So I'm cracking up because I see you. It's a part in Acrimony where Taraji is doing this little crazy dance and flailing her arms and all of that. And she's like, you know me, sis. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge and I'm about to lose my head. So we laugh, but it is a real thing because you're like, okay, he gave you all of the money that you invested back. He compensated you. He, all of that. But you forgot the part you played. You let other people talk you out of your situation. So, but she just could not handle his move on. And we have to take care of ourselves and not be mad with anybody else when we make the decisions. You know how many times I heard that she should have been gone and I can't believe it and all of that. And why would she stay with a person who does X, Y, and Z, which most of it is salacious and clickbait. Because once you find out something is a popular hot topic, you'll add on and keep on perpetuating it. And I don't really live in that anymore, but I'm bringing it up as an example because I don't care what people think. This situation has caused us to face us in so many beautiful ways. Things that predated me, stuff that had nothing to do with me. I just happened to marry you and then it became my situation. No, I haven't. He has not entered anybody physically, but the impact, the shame, the hurt that I felt thinking that it had so much to do with me. I'm impacted. I'm trending. My name is out there because it's connected to you. Do you know? I definitely wanted to run the other way and did for a little while, but I had to recenter myself around this, what we're talking about. What was it that caused you to act this way? What was it that you hadn't taken care of? What happened in your childhood that brought you to this moment? And people can say, oh, that's an excuse. No, it's a truth. It is an absolute truth. If you do not deal, you cannot heal. If you don't unravel, and God forbid, I wouldn't want it to be in front of the world, but it happened to be in front of the world. But guess what? They don't have heaven or hell to put me in. They can't tell me what to do because people are dealing with things in their home. I've gotten so many notes, messages, DMs from women who are like, wow, now I have a better approach. Now we're seeking therapy. Now we're seeking counseling. And people are like, oh, yes, woman of faith, a whole pastor. Do you know that many pastors have mental issues because they're so busy not focusing on theirs because they're helping you with yours? That is
Exactly.
a sentimental and a dear truth to me, which is why when I learned more, you're one of my best gifts from when we were called to Houston. Um, we laugh, we have fun, and all of that, but you take it seriously when it comes to this anxiety, this trauma. And I love that you have a company called Never Walk Alone, because people do feel isolated. They do feel alone when they have, all of these issues and things that you're like, oh, you're a leader. You're not supposed to have issues. How do you teach when you're supposed to, when you haven't taken care of yourself? Actually, those are the greatest teachers, the ones who have been through things, the ones who have had an opportunity to sit with and process their things. God forbid it's in public, but guess what? Everybody, when I say everybody, even the counselor and the therapist, has something. So I think it's
What I
so.
love, I'm
Go
sorry, I
ahead.
was going to tell you what I love about you, Av, is the fact that I've been able to watch you walk this whole thing out with grace, with anger sometimes, but with love at the back. It made sure that was in the storefront of everything, and you took your power back. You didn't allow for the trolls to change and alter your mindset. You sat in it and you decided to say, you know what, I'm going to have to block out the outside noise and really tap into what exactly I need to do. And that's what everyone should do when it comes down to their mental health. You can't sometimes go run to grandma. You can't run to mama. You can't
Yeah.
run to your spouse or even your close good friend. You might have to just sit in it and seek out someone from the outside, a therapist, or even a life coach who will be able to help you guide you to the destination you desire. But at the same time, if you allow for those outside noise to influence you, all they're doing is tapping into what they would do. How do you how are you going to talk to someone about marriage who's never been married or a successful marriage? Or how are you going to talk to someone about information of what they would do with their spouse if they have up and downs in their relationship and they're both living in a lie within their own marriage? It's
Right.
kind of hard to seek out advice from certain individuals when they're not even walking the path. And I'm not saying that you can't have people who can motivate you and walk the journey with you, but sometimes it's okay to block out the outside noise and you sit in it and tap into what God exactly wants to do within your mindset when it comes to your personal mental health. Do not allow for someone else's game plan to become your game plan. It really has
Wow.
to be your own set schedule, your own set plan of how you want to map this whole thing out to get to the destination that you want to do. And so I love the fact that I've been in front row seat to be able to see that you took the power back. You turned off because listen, Av could be responding to every response
You
on
would
social
find me
media,
doing that. Yeah, and I
but she
think
shut it
that, yeah, I had to grow into it though, because I was so busy trying to convince, no, that's not what happened. Oh my gosh, that's not true. Oh, what? No, this isn't an apology car. This car was in the works for da da da. And God had to arrest me. He was like, who are you doing this for? He was like, I've got you. I can do with this what nobody else can do. He was like, I can
on.
quiet the noise. I can turn this around for your good. And a lot of times we don't know how to let go. Some things at some points, like I will address things, but I was spending all of my days neglecting my kids, popping off at my husband, going crazy, trying to address this, and this, when I was like, why? Because people don't care about truth, they care about it being entertained. What's the tea? What's the coffee? When you have your own tea and coffee that you don't want anybody to pour up, holla at me. So I had to literally develop a cancel culture for myself, and that was to cancel the noise from other people and to know that my journey is mine. It just happens to be public. How I deal with it is how I deal with it. How I see it is how I see it. And also what I know that my husband has walked through and what he's going through, it was my choice. My
Yeah.
choice to walk with him through care counseling, my choice to walk with him through therapy. Sometimes it doesn't work for everybody. I don't know how my story will end even right now, but I know that I'm in it and I'm trusting God. And even as a woman of faith, I'm not going to tell people to pray things away. We have done, and I mentioned this in my second episode, a disservice as a Christian and as believers to say, oh, just pray about it. That spiritual bypassing has not helped anybody. For years, spiritual bypassing has perpetuated this right here: mental anxiety, mental anguish, and mental instability, because you suppress instead of uncover. And God is a
Amen.
God of light. God is a God who wants to expose for the purposes of healing. It's not exposing to hurt or harm, it's exposing so that you can get somewhere. Listen, what I know to be true as a woman of faith, you do take everything to God. It says, cast your
Mhm.
burdens on the Lord and leave them there, which is a truth. But faith without works is dead, right? So I have
Yep.
faith that the Lord is going to take my burdens and going to uplift them. But I actually have to participate with God. And that is, He created you. He created people like my producer, Precious. He created all of these therapists and these counselors to work in tandem with your faith. Like, there's not a one or another, it's both and, because you have to have practical steps to be able to confront the woes of life. Because in the Art Thous and the Phillips and the Marks and the Matthews and the Gospels and all of them, all of that was great then. It's the same message, but you have to have a different method. You can take that, you can ponder it, but you also need to find yourself not just at the feet of God and also on a couch. You can do
Yeah.
both. So talk to me
Yeah.
about that. Don't you think that we have done great work in making people feel like therapy and counseling is, oh no, you don't need to do that. That means you don't trust God. We've done a really good job of making people and shaming people out of getting help for themselves. And I think that in itself is a trick of the enemy.
It is. When you think about it, especially within our culture, whatever happens in this house stays in
Stays
this
in this
house.
house. Yeah.
You don't share that information with anyone. So when you go to your pastor in back in the day, and you wanted to share something with a deacon, or you wanted to go to the first lady, it really kind of stayed in. They didn't want to share what trauma that you experienced of someone touching you, or you've been having, you have hurt somewhere else within your life. And so what that does is causes for people, Christians in particular, in the black church, to result in pull in like, okay, well, we can't talk about that. So then when their child experiences something, well, we don't talk about that. So now it becomes a generation curse. Keep going over and over the things that we don't talk about. And in reality, it has not changed anything when it comes to the number. Suicide is still the top fourth leading cause between the ages of 10 and 34
Whew.
here in the United States. 10 and 34.
10.
Especially during COVID, the numbers went up drastically for adolescents of committing suicide. And so when you think about it, if we did have the tools as younger, because that's where we ran to, that's where the older generation ran to. They ran to the church for everything. I
Yeah.
mean, literally everything. They was there for 7 days a week for choir practice, but that was their extended family,
And
and
still
you
at
could not
home, tore up and broken after being there all
even.
day and night.
Exactly. So when it definitely played a part of why so many people within our culture would not seek out assistance from a mental health professional, because we've been taught, don't share things. You keep everything closed in. You only talk about it to only people in the house. And I'm sorry, I love Big Mama, but Big Mama don't have the tools to share with you of
Oh,
how to handle
so
certain
good.
situations, because all she knows is what the things that she's experienced.
Yeah.
Right? You can only go so far. And so I think now, by you even having this platform, by you at your church and relentless of sharing of how the importance of mental health and how we can collide both situations and both groups together to make the individual have the best quality of life, is something that's definitely needed across the board, not only in Black church, but across church. Period. It
Yeah.
needs to be an open dialogue. Right now,
It's
105.
ministry.
Most definitely. In the United States alone, it's $105 billion every year goes to mental health, and it's going to skyrocket more in 2030. So if you think about these stats, what are we doing as a people?
Yeah.
We're allowing for people to continue to be hurt and just, oh, swallow this pill, or we don't talk about it over here. Oh, okay. Like, and then we now see what happens when you have medication included. People become addicted to certain things and things of that nature. And medication only does so much. I tell my clients that all the time. Medication is great. but you have to do the work also on your end. You can
Yeah.
swallow that pill, but if you don't change anything, it's not going to happen. It's not going to change nothing. And I love my little ones. I really do. But at the same time, I can't work harder than you for
Wow.
the goal that you desire that you want to accomplish. And so when you talk about church, people can go there for that hour and 45 minutes on Sunday. But if you do nothing the rest of the week, what exactly are you doing? You're only checking off a box again, right? And
Right.
so when it comes to your mental health, if you had cancer, or if you had a cut on your arm, you're going to go to that hospital and get treated. So why is it so hard for us to go seek out assistance for our brain, for our mental health?
Yeah.
It may not even cause for medication. It may just cause for a dialogue, just
Yeah.
to have someone to be able to support you with this new life change that you just accomplished, or you just that you're trying to accomplish, or you're trying to get over.
Right.
It's not that hard just to talk. But here's the thing, Af. Think about it. When someone says, "Good morning, how you doing?" What's your response?
Oh, I'm fine.
Exactly.
Or
Some of
either
us do not
blessed and highly favored, blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed when I come, blessed when I go. All the church words that we can regurgitate at the drop of a dime can say every scripture, but they haven't penetrated our soul. Can say every, parable in the Bible. Know that he rose on the third day. Know when he woke up. Know when he got up. Know when he went to the garden. Know when he went and took just the 3 and not the 12. Like we could say all of it. You can do church religiously. You can do anything religiously. It's about relationship, and that's where we have missed the mark. You can be up there, like I remember, because one of my good sisters, Michelle, she's definitely owning. She's very successful. She started off with the group, Destiny's Child, and then went solo, and then she's embraced, and being very open and transparent about depression. And she's got a book called Checking In. In that book, she is like, listen, there are times when people try to do that to me. Whoa, you're the one that's supposed to be so spiritual. And she grew up, Kojic, and you can't do this and you can't do that and all of that. And all of those can'ts create these thoughts later on. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to knock church. This isn't a church bash. It is for us to literally hone in on the fact that we have perpetuated behaviors that cause us to grow up with trauma, to embrace trauma, to spiritual bypass, and to not understand how we got there. And then we're mad at God, and God is like, I give you the playbook, but it's up to you to do the work. We miss that part. We always want God. I want God to give me the revelation. I want God to give me the breakthrough. I want God to make me a millionaire. Well, God gave you an idea. Did you write it down? Did you pray about it? Did you talk to somebody who might have the resources or the sources of connectivity? Everything won't come and fall into your lap. He's not a genie you just rub and then he just shows up with all of your gifts. Like, you have to do work to get to your purpose and to get to your promise. And some of that is ugly. Some of that is revelational, where you have to say, yeah, mama had me in all the pageants, but I thought I was ugly, the ugliest little girl, walking across the stage. I didn't want to embrace, I didn't even want to smile because of my gap. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like all of the hair. My hair was so big, and I used to pop combs. I thought something was wrong with it. These are things that stayed with me as a little kid. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And just because you dress up a problem doesn't make it go away. So
Yes,
I am
yes.
grateful for the work that you do. I am grateful for your care for people, because when you listen and when you have somebody who can give you the knowledge, not from a place of perfection, but from a place of just a real, true listening ear, and also the expertise that you're going to school for and that you have, you know, walk through with sociology and psychology, and just kind of putting those things together. That's why we have those educational, mandates. That's why we have those programs, because there has to be
Mhm.
someone that can literally look at it from an objective space and not just look at you as, oh, they're a mess, but look at you as, wow, this is what happened. This is how we got here. Now give me the words, God, to infuse with my education so that I can give the proper responses and so that I can help another person out of their issues. Thank
And
you
that's
so
exactly.
much for what
Oh,
you
you're
do.
welcome.
just
Thank you so
for
much
what you
for
do.
thank you so much for supporting me, because think about it, when during COVID I really had to sit in and really tap into who is Danielle. My whole life, because of my illness that I've battled since I was 15, I had someone always tell me what to do. I mean, from my mama telling me to go to Kroger or HEB, or I should buy this car, or should I go get this? I always had someone telling me what to do. So when COVID hit, I literally had to sit in and tap in. Who is Danielle,
Hmm.
and what do I know about me? Do I really need to go to this grocery store? Or do I want to go to this one? Do I need to,
Right.
I really had to tap into it. And so I really tapped it. I started off with counterfeit season is over. As you know, I love to say that over and over.
Yes.
Counterfeit season is over. Because I was walking around with this mask that everything is great. Oh, I had 19 surgeries. I'm fine. Everything is in favor, you know? And so I sat down and I wrote down, know your truth. And when I wrote that down, I had to really write a list of who am I? And then I really was like, do I like my truth? Do
Wow.
I really like the person that I'm becoming? And then I had to ultimately get to the point of loving who I am, loving my truth, because I understood my truth helped me become the woman that I am today. And so, but the biggest part about that is taking that mask off and really stop walking around as a counterfeit. And I always say that you can only be fake for so long before you reveal exactly who you truly are.
Ooh.
And that is so true when you think about $100 bill. It may keep passing on, but eventually someone is going to pull out that pen and realize this is a fake hundred. So you can continue walking around being fake on this earth, but your true self is really going to reveal itself at either the right time or the wrong time. So before it happens, take that mask off and stop walking this thing out. If you're battling with anything, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it can just be hurt. Sit in it,
Yeah.
understand it, acknowledge it, and figure out what you can do to get to the next step. If that means going to seek out pastoral counsel, do that. If you need to go seek out a licensed professional counselor, go do that. If you need medication to go see a psychiatrist, definitely go do that as well. But don't sit there at home and complain about it. And if you're just sitting there and if you are on the receiving end of someone's complaints, you need to start putting up boundaries, because some
Ooh.
people just like to dump all their stuff on you. And no is a complete sentence. No, I don't want to answer this phone today. I'm not responding to that
That
text
must be
message.
in the air because my episode prior 2 weeks back, I had a beautiful woman of God on named Keisha Green. She said that she was like, we are, well, this is my interpretation, we're governed by our phones sometime and we let them control us. She was like, you can look at it and not pick up because they're not going to get mad at you because they're calling to check on you. They're mad at you because you won't answer, so you can service them basically, so you can be there for them and you can be there for their issues and all of that. Honey, if you don't want to answer the phone, my husband told me this about text messages. I was like, man, I got like 100 text messages I haven't answered. He was like, and they'll be fine when you get to them. And I learned that like none other when he got sick earlier in the year. I had over 1,000 text messages and I was like, I was copying and pasting, I'm like, listen, I can't do this. So what I'll do is I'll put it on the social media and you can get your information from there. And if you're not his mom or his immediate family or my children, and or somebody who's caring for the children, literally in my immediate family, my siblings, all of that, I can't worry about it because I will lose my mind and my focus on him and on trying to keep my kids in order and intact by trying to inform you when you don't matter at this point. It's about what's happening here and trying to get us back in order.
I
So a
love
lot.
what you just said when you stated that of why the person on the other end is upset because they don't have the information that's going on in your family. I need to check myself. Why am I upset if I don't receive a response to text message? Oh, I had to find out online. Oh, she didn't respond to my text. Why are you upset? Now you need to check yourself and figure out what exactly is tied to knowing about everyone else when you know you probably have 10 things on your checklist that you haven't done, but you're worried about what's going on in somebody else's household.
There we
And
go.
that's so important when you think about individuals' mental health. It's quick for them to look at somebody else's issue, but they don't
Ooh.
want to talk about their own.
Oh no.
They always want to focus on what the next person doing. Ma'am,
The
sir,
mirror is
you
broke
have
when it's your turn.
exactly, exactly. And so this is all things that causes us to have trauma. This causes us to have anxiety and depression because we're always sometimes focused on what the situations and actions of other people because we don't want to sit in our own stuff. So it's
Ooh,
like,
it's a
well,
great
I've been
deflection.
exactly, exactly. And instead of us sitting there and like, well, okay, I need to really focus on the 10 things I need to focus on, but I'm gonna really think about this one thing that Av didn't respond to my text message 5 weeks ago. Well, do you know what's going on what's going on in her family? Have you thought about that? Have you
Yeah,
thought about that? Maybe she focus on her checklist. Have
yeah,
you thought about that? And so it's those situations that causes for us to have racing thoughts. It causes for us to have anxiety because now we're procrastinating on the things that we need to accomplish. So when we have this deadline that we have to meet, well, you had 10 weeks to meet it, but you was focused on um, Mary Sue and Alice over here. No, focus on what you need to do on your plate. And
it's true.
I think that is so important when you talk about mental health, anxiety, depression, or just everyday experiences. Every morning, some of the things that we can do is write down a list of things that you want to accomplish in that day. And you may not get to number 5. You may only get to 1 and 2, but at least that you have to celebrate a win. That's still a win.
Yeah.
And if you reach over the line and you forgot to return someone's phone call, if it's not a life and death situation, they're going to be okay. And you have to be okay with understanding they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you need to sit down and figure out, well, why do I need validation from someone else to achieve whatever goals I need to accomplish? I'm not
Oh,
saying you can't have your friends be cheerleaders. I'm not saying that at all. But at the same time, sometimes you got to validate yourself
it's
and
true.
be okay with what the actions and thoughts that you create on your own. If when you created your company, it wasn't you called Danielle like, so Danielle, this is what I'm gonna do. Is this okay? No, this is something that God deposited into your mind and
Yeah.
you ran with it. If we always look for validation from other individuals, we would never accomplish the goals that God wanted us to accomplish. If God wanted me to be average to great, God would have created me to be average to great. And I
It's
think
true.
that is so important when people want to walk the same line as someone else, and especially when it comes to social media. Mental health and
Ooh,
social media really, really, especially hard for our little ones, but definitely hard for grown people as well.
we get so
We're looking
stressed
at
out over people's lives that are fake. Like,
yes,
everybody's all edited and filtered up. I mean, all of us want to look bad, good, and give our best presentation and everything. But how about you get up with them rollers in your hair, looking crazy, no makeup or whatever, and post that? It's the same
hmm
person, and who cares if they talk about you? It's you. It's you before you get to the glam. I'm telling you,
hmm
girl, we could be here all day. We might have to do a part 2, but this is so important because we don't realize how selfish we are. I want to wrap
yeah,
back to that not responding to the text messages because I had people like, oh, I thought we were closer. Listen, we are close, or I thought we were family. I shouldn't have to find out on social media. Listen, I didn't even want to put it on social media. When he literally mouthed, I need everybody to pray, please post. I was hesitant because I knew what was going to happen. I was like, this is a thing. Because if this goes left, you wake up and we have this surgery and all of a sudden you're not here, I got to answer to a whole lot of people. Then when I put it out there, I got to answer to a whole lot of people. So I had to do it my way. I had to do it.
hmm
I did it with his blessing. When he asked me to post it, I knew that I was gonna get hit up every way from Sunday. And then I was like, I gotta try to respond. And sometimes I would have the phone in my hand, and whoever the message that came through, they got a response at that time. That didn't mean they were closer than the next person. And I found myself like, oh my God, did I tell this person? Well, they went to school with him, or they were in high school with him, or this is his cousin. And then people mad with me now. Mad with me, and I'm watching my husband fight for his life because they didn't get a response. Honey, I had to let that go so fast because I was making myself sick. I had to.
exactly.
Do what you can do, and people will accept it or they won't, and everybody will be okay. Cause I have
They
that
will.
had that thing where I'm like trying to make sure everybody is well, make sure everybody is okay, and I'm the one that's not on the list of okay. That can't happen. The way that you conquer your own mental health and your own mental understanding your own mental capacity is to face you first. You're no good to anybody else if you don't help you. So
Exactly.
I I think that this is great. I think that we have conquered a lot today. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to have you with me. And thank you for what you do. I'm celebrating your win as getting your doctorate in a couple of months, celebrating you and championing you. Love you so much, you guys. If you want to follow Danielle, please make sure you follow her on all of her social media. Make sure that you subscribe to anything that she does. Make sure you follow Never Walk Alone. I've been a speaker at her events, showed up for her, prayed over the event. You want to get connected and you want to stay connected to somebody who really cares. She's not doing this for money. She's doing it because this is who she is. So thank you so much for being with me today. I love you and I can't wait to talk to you again soon, sister.
Thank you
Love
for
you.
having me.
God bless. Okay, everybody, it's one of my favorite parts of my podcast, Ab's Advice segment. And if you have any issues or things that you would want my advice on, you can email me at avunfiltered, A-V-E, unfiltered at aventurgrayco, don't leave off the co.com, and I will pull from there. So today, I have someone who wrote in that says, I haven't been making any traction. Every time I try to change the course of my life, I end up feeling like a failure. At this point, I can't put blame on anyone else. Surely I'm the problem. I'm deep in debt. My son keeps getting in trouble at school, and I hate the work that I do. I've tried different business endeavors, but I'm quick to feel like I'm falling and failing yet again, until I eventually give up. I wish I had help, but it's always been just me. My question is, what do you do when you can't get ahead in life and you have to face that you might be in your own way? Wow, that is loaded. Listen, I'm going to do my best with this one because I think we could have a whole show dedicated to this, because I think that there are so many people out there who feel the same, who feel like they can't grab their niche, they can't find their lane, or they can't find their place or their purpose in life. The first thing I want you to do is celebrate yourself for trying, because there are so many people who don't even try to see what it is that they can do. I think that we see a lot of people in their element. We see a lot of people who we feel are quote unquote winning, but we don't know their backstory. We don't know that this is their 20th year in their lane or business or whatever it is, and that they're just now being seen. They're just now gaining traction. I think that we don't see that people have exhausted plenty of resources, relationships, fallen off the wagon, messed up, tried again. We see all of what we see on social media. We see the highlights of people in their zone, and it looking like they're doing great at progression. I want to tell you first to understand that everybody has a story. Everybody has failed, whether they tell you that or not. I want you to know that I started a business years ago, and then I hung it back up because I felt like I wasn't prepared. I wanted to finish my schooling. I wanted to go back and reset and figure out who Aventer actually was. And sometimes when things doesn't work out, it's because you haven't tapped into knowing who you are so you can embrace where you're trying to go. So I want to take a moment to just celebrate your try first. I also want you to know that in your unhappiness, sometimes your children can feel that. So they start acting out because they want your attention. So it may not be a bad idea to kind of scale back on the things that you're looking for yourself, and to invest in your son, who you said is acting out, and kind of ask him, why is he doing these things? And he may be quick to tell you, and if I can bet, that he wants more attention from you. And at times we have to put ourselves on the shelf for the gift in the concentrated form that we've been afforded to have children. And sometimes it needs to turn to them. Our attention needs to turn to them, and then God will breathe on your personal things. I know that for a fact, that when I focused on my family, when I focused on my husband, when I focused on other people and other things, that God showed up for me in ways that I couldn't have ever imagined. So I want to tell you that before you try to endeavor into the next thing, before you try to jump forward head first into what should I do next, what should I try next, just take a moment to reset and recenter. Go ahead and pray. Go ahead and focus on your son. Ask him what's going on with him. Try to grow and deepen that relationship, and also get to know yourself a little bit more so that you can figure out all of the places where you've tried this, tried that, and try to reconcile them all and figure out who you actually are. Let me first say that I am proud of you, because there are people that won't even try, but at least you've tried. So in that, you've already won. You just have to change your perspective and move forward in that. But I think that we will have an episode soon, and I'll look to do that, where we touch on this subject of feeling like you cannot find your place and you cannot find your footing. I want to encourage you not to give up. I want to encourage you to try again. You fall down 7 times, get up 8. I got that from one of my amazing people I call a hero, somebody I looked up to and still look up to, Denzel Washington, because you don't know his story. If you don't know his story, go research it. We don't have time today, but one of the greatest actors in the world who almost wasn't even an actor. It's a great story, and I want to encourage you with that today and let you know that God sees you. He sees your tries, but he also sees your heart. So go deep into your heart, find yourself, and know that any try that you have is already a success because you did. Okay? God bless you, and I hope that that blesses you. Listen, that's been another episode of Av Unfiltered. Real convos, no filter. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Danielle, again. It's been awesome, and I love you. Don't forget to like, share, save, subscribe, and listen to over and over. If this episode blessed you, leave me a comment and let me know, and I can't wait to be back with you. Don't forget, bi-weekly on Thursdays, Av Unfiltered. God bless.